I just wanted to tell one story really from the Dominican Republic. I have so many stories, but especially for those who are considering serving a mission still, this kind of applies across all boundaries. Um, there's a temple in Santo Domingo. It's the only temple in the Caribbean, so all of the countries in the Caribbean come to that temple. Um, but the convenience of being in the East Mission is that while the temple is technically within the limits of the West Mission, it's only within the limits by one street. And so both mission presidents have kind of agreed that both missions can go to the temple and take investigators there and things like that. When I was about 7 months out in the field, I met the Mejia family, Wison and Juana Mejia. I moved into a new area, and they were already investigators. They had been going with the missionaries for some time, overcoming problems. They weren't married yet, which is probably the biggest thing. But while I was there, I saw them make the decision to get married and get baptized, and I had the privilege of baptizing Wison. And so then I continued in the area for another 5 months after they were baptized. And so my companions and I was with 3 different companions after that, we made sure to set a date for a sealing with them for this year, because this was in 2016 when I met them. We made sure to set a date and give them lots of follow-up and always make sure that they were doing well and coming to church and everything, and we did everything we could. And the cool thing was that just everyone who met them fell in love with them and always wanted to be going by their house. They would offer us lunch sometimes. Of course, we didn't let it distract us from the rest of the work, but we made sure that they had plenty of follow-up because they were a golden family for sure. The hard thing was working with their kids because their kids didn't really want anything to do with it. The youngest was 15 or 16, and the older ones had either moved out of the house or weren't really interested in listening. They're still working on that as far as I'm aware. But when I had about a month and a half left before I came home, so I believe it was in late July, mid to late July, or maybe it was early August, I got a call that Wison and Juana were ready to be sealed, that they had set a date at the temple and everything. And I got permission from my mission president to go not only to the sealing itself, but to go through their endowment session with them. And that was one of the most beautiful and most incredible experiences I've ever had. Just to see the joy and the happiness emanating from both of them, to see how they, just the way that they looked at each other, and the way that a whole bunch of people from the ward were there to support them, people that had become their close friends over the last year. And I think the biggest part was just the triumph that they felt. Because about 6 months prior, they had nearly gotten a divorce. They came about that close. Just because of a bunch of issues with their children and arguments and things like that. But they overcame. They had faith in their Savior and kept fighting, and the missionaries kept giving them follow-up, and the ward kept giving them follow-up. And I'm so grateful to be able to say that I got to know them during that process and participate a little bit in their conversion story. I haven't been able to maintain much contact with them since I left the DR. I plan to try to more. I've been really busy since I got back. But those are the kinds of experiences that define your mission and that define the changes that you see in yourself. It really helped me see how the Lord loves each one of us, how He knows exactly what our struggles are and what our problems are. He knows where we've been, where we're going, where we are, and He wants to help us reach the highest potential. There will be obstacles put in our way, whether because He puts them there because He knows we're strong enough, or whether He lets them be there so that we can learn things. But He will always help us overcome, and He'll bless us for our efforts.